This chair is not only seriously expensive, but has also made me reconsider my choices when it comes to seating, posture, and how it is to be in front of my desk pretty much a huge amount of hours a day. Now, the HAG SoFi Mesh is not cheap. It can be found for around £750, and that's even without the headrest, which adds an additional around £200 odd. You might be thinking straight away, wow, that's a lot of money. And to be quite honest with you, I totally agree. I have never spent that much amount of money on a singular piece of furniture. But given that I work at my desk pretty much the entirety of the day, not only from writing articles or doing reviews, editing videos, or even shooting videos, and furthermore even gaming, I end up spending a lot of hours in front of my desk. And what I realized is using a traditional chair made me have a lot of back pain. And we're going to be talking about my kind of journey into getting a mobile chair like this one. Now, before doing that, I just do want to mention a few things, just in case you might be thinking this is sponsored or something like that. It certainly isn't. HAG produced this chair, or Flock, and in this respect I wasn't provided this chair for review. In fact, I was provided it by Back in Action. Those awesome guys, and we'll talk about their services further down, they provided this chair in a loan period. The reason I said loan period is because I reached out to them and said I'd like to try out this chair for around 3 months. In exchange for that, you would get a video for it. It could be a negative or a positive video, it doesn't matter. But at the end of that trial period, I will either buy the chair if I like it or return it and not have to pay for it. And really, for me, it was an experience and a journey for me to go from a traditional chair to gaming chair to this type of chair, and ultimately I'll be forking out money from my own pocket to buy this chair. I am not getting a free chair out of doing this video, unlike a lot of people you might see as like influencers or something like that. I'm not sure if Back in Action or even do that in the first place, but I just thought to point it out. So now with that all in mind, you should now consider if you should be looking at the SoFi Mesh. And I'm going to go through a few of these features because ultimately this is not only an experience but also a review of the chair. Now first off, it's to do with the actual chair mechanisms. Now there is the height adjustment, which is a little button found over here. You can go up and down, and it's got a gas lift as you might expect. And if you go on the right hand side, there's kind of a lever, and if you push it backwards and forwards, it takes the back segments forwards and backwards. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that properly on camera, but anyway, maybe I'll try and put some B-roll for you guys to see that. Now the other one is very important, and that is a latch that's found underneath the chair. If I press it in, it loosens up the chair, as you can see over here. Now I am freely moving, and if I were to lock it, it locks, and it locks into a fixed position, meaning I can't rock backwards or forwards. So yes, this chair has back and forth adjustments. In other words, you can sit forwards, which is where this chair is really aimed at. So you're sitting a little propped up, not using the backrest too much or the headrest, and you're sitting forwards and you're working. Your knees should be a little bit below your pelvis, at least from what I've been told and understand, and ideally you should be sitting in a bit more of an active position. Here, the micro movements that you have, even small little movements, will be better for your health other than sitting in a static position. The reason behind that is, as you can imagine, you are still promoting a little bit of movement through your spine or through your back. Now, just an FYI, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a trained professional or anything like that. This is kind of logic that you can even put 2 and 2 together, or of course you can go to the guys at Back in Action and they can show you this and you can learn a little bit more about it. Now I did say I'll talk about Back in Action, I will talk about Back in Action, but that's kind of a snippet of how good their services are. Now, other than this, of course, you've got a few different things. You've got the back lumbar support, which can be adjusted back and forth, so really depends on terms of where your back is and where you want that lumbar support to come in. You have then got these slide back armrests. Now this is an option, so an additional option, but you can see they go all the way forwards and they can be slid all the way back. Now why would you want one or the other? Well, traditionally I am told and wired in that I need to use my armrest. I need to put my hands or elbows down and I need to use these armrests. Well, in actual reality, you should have a free-flowing movement. You shouldn't be static in any way. And as a result, the slide back means that I can go closer to my desk and be closer to my monitor / keyboard and mouse and have these not obstructing it, and therefore means that I can slide perfectly under my regular desk. That's why you have the slide back mechanism, and why you might want to use it. Of course, you could save yourself money. You don't have to have this. You can have it in a fixed position, and there's different ways of getting these chairs customized via aluminium and plastic. The same could be said about the color, by the way. The color is full black because that's what I wanted. It kind of fits with my setup, but you can get it in a variety of different finishes and colors to pretty much your heart's content. So if you want that kind of Scandinavian blue white-ish look or something like that, then you can do it, and you can just configure it through the website. And Back in Action have got a variety of different options you can go for, so you can knock yourself out for that. Now, in terms of the headrest, this is again another thing that I kind of got preconditioned about. I should be always supported with my headrest, and you can see right now that it's actually not there unless I kind of go back. So you might be thinking, okay, well, I'll save myself 200 quid on the headrest. I don't need the headrest. Yeah, totally. To be honest with you, if it wasn't for me wanting to kind of chill back, watch some YouTube videos and chill and not have to worry too much, then I wouldn't get the headrest. You know, I would just save myself around £200. However, I am someone who likes to do that in the evenings after I game, after I work. I end up chilling out, watching some YouTube videos, and the headrest comes in handy because it's just literally supporting my head after a long day at work. So this is very optional. It's kind of extra, literally, but this is something for me that's personally worth it. If it was for most individuals, I think a headrest is not really necessary. Save yourself £200 odd, put it to somewhere else, but nevertheless, that's just my experiences, and that's why I'm actually going for the headrest personally. I ummed and ahed about it. I even tried to get rid of it and see how I would feel about it, and I just felt something was missing. The headrest is there to be used when you are kind of relaxing, rather than constantly being there and your head being constantly supported. And as a result, if you're constantly supported, your head is fixed, and again goes to that kind of static type of seating position, which isn't correct. At least isn't correct in kind of the modern day thinking and the modern day of how you should be sitting and using your chair. Now, I should also point out, and something that Back in Action really did emphasize, everyone is different. Everyone has different body shapes, sizes, seating postures, habits. You know, specifically for me, I've got massive habits of sitting in like a static chair. It's going to take a while to get used to not slouching and, you know, not chilling out and being at your desk, or, you know, like for those people who watch Counter-Strike, they'll know like JDM sits like this. He probably has pretty bad back health, but I mean, that's just me predicting. But anyway, what I'm trying to say over here is that not everyone's the same, and if you want to have a trial of the chair, you want to find the right posture, you want to find the right chair, and even if you don't want to spend this much money, you don't have to spend that much money on it. You can buy a cheaper chair, something that still promotes this kind of active sort of lifestyle. And this is where the part of Back in Action comes in, and where I need to kind of talk about them. When I say need, it's because I really feel that they're fantastic guys. The whole team over there, I talked to a few different people over there, and all of them were just fantastic to deal with. Here, they really cared about my health. At least it seemed like they cared about my health. I still feel that way. They didn't really say or make me feel like I'm being pressured to buy a certain chair or trying to upsell me any chairs. I had free reign of any chairs I want, and even some people I chatted with had no idea whatsoever that the fact that I do YouTube videos and I was going to do a YouTube review of this chair. They were just caring to make sure that I was using the chair in a proper way. Now, because of coronavirus, there's ways of, you know, doing this over the phone and you know, video conferencing, all that stuff. But the best thing you can do, if you can, is to go into one of their stores, chat to any of their staff, and just find yourself a great chair. Shout out to you guys in Back in Action, and very much I would suggest you guys, if you live in the UK, definitely contact them and check them out. And yet again, this is not sponsored, this is not endorsed or anything like that. It's just me genuinely saying it, that I was absolutely blown away by their customer service. So on that note, I should mention a few of the disadvantages of the SoFi Mesh, and one of which is going to be very trivial to some people. And that was actually to do with the assembly of the SoFi Mesh. At the back over here, specifically if you get the additional headrest, there's a metal part over here that attaches to this kind of plastic enclosure. What I found is due to the metal being a little bit too coated, it meant that it didn't fit in properly, and apparently this is kind of a known issue with HAG and something that Back in Action fed back to me about. That's what they had found. Now the great thing is here, the Back in Action then took the chair, assembled it for me and hammered it in, and then sent it back to me fully assembled. So another nod to how good Back in Action were. The other thing I should mention is that due to the material over here, if I'm not mistaken it's a wool material, it does attract loads of these kind of fur balls, and unless you have a good vacuum cleaner, which I do have the Dyson V11, it still is quite hard to kind of clean it, and therefore sometimes mean that you have to kind of manually pick it away. Here I did clean it before the video, but you'll see a picture over here of it with all these kind of fluffy bits all on it, and that's after basically 3 months of use and no cleaning of the material. But I anticipate that's going to be the case with any sort of fabric that is being used like this, but something I should point out. So on the whole, what do I make about the SoFi Mesh? Well, quite frankly, I think it's the best chair for me, and the chair that I will be purchasing. The reason I like it is because, well, it does everything that I want. It ticks almost every single box. Frankly, I couldn't think of another chair that would beat it, and I did quite a lot of research and did try some different chairs as well at Back in Action, and none of them really quite felt the same as the SoFi Mesh. I love the fact that it's got its mesh back. It means that it's a little bit better when it comes to moving around for your back. It's got this nice sort of shorter base and can be adjusted, so it means that I'm sitting naturally in a better posture. It's got the locking mechanism if I want to be gaming. So yes, the locking mechanism is there because, well, in case you don't want to be moving around in certain scenarios, you don't have to. And for me, it really does stem to gaming because I don't want those mini movements setting off my aiming or let's say setting off my spray patterns, such as in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. But the unlocking mechanism, was where I use the chair in the most scenario, is the biggest selling point, and the fact that it has this rocky mechanism that feels good and also, well, just works as it should. And of course the gas lift works really well as well, no complaints there, and just the material, other than that sort of woolly type of thing that was occurring, it just really feels great, at least to me. So as a result, I can definitely recommend the SoFi Mesh, and it's something that I would truly suggest to most people out there if you have the budget. However, you might be thinking, okay, well, this is all well and great for you, Chris, because you can afford this chair. And by the way, when it says to afford, it does take quite a bit of savings coming out of my savings. But anyway, in this respect, you might be thinking, okay, it's all well and great for you, but you can afford it, I can't. I've only got, let's say, £150 to buy a chair. Well, there is actually a solution, and that is this, the Human Tool Saddle. I know it seems pretty radical because you're looking at literally a part of a chair, and that's exactly what it is. It's something that sits on a traditional chair and allows you to have this active posture without having to break the bank. So therefore you can still use your old school 20-year-old living room chair and just make it modern with using something like this. Now, it's available in different fabric finishes, and you can get it with or without a base if you so wish. And you can use this on the floor, you can use this on the train, you can use this, I wouldn't say in the car, but potentially as a passenger. And you can of course use this on a regular chair that you'd be using in an office, desk, or, you know, living room scenario. And I found this a fantastic solution for those people who are on a budget, quote unquote, and want an active lifestyle and don't want to break the bank at spending, you know, 700 and something odd pounds on a chair, or £500 on a chair. This is just a seemingly great solution, and something that really did put a smile on my face when it was suggested by Lucinda at Back in Action. So shout out to Lucinda for that, because I genuinely think this is a great product, and I definitely think this is a great budget option for those people who want to experience that active lifestyle, but don't have the money to spend it, and everyone's finances are different. So there we have it, and I never knew I could speak so much about a chair, or I would have been so fascinated to understand a little bit about the ergonomics and kind of the history about chairs and stuff like that. I mean, there's so much you learn every day. But honestly, hopefully this video was helpful. I know it's probably longer. I'm going to anticipate it's probably going to be quite a longish video, but hopefully this is here for you to make your own informed decision, and gives you a little bit of insight as to my journey behind this chair, and hopefully you appreciated the video. And if you did, make sure you give it a like, comment, and let me know what you make of the chair, or indeed your chair that you're using. And furthermore, do subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification, as it's greatly appreciated. Alright, I've been Totally Dubbed. Take care of yourselves and have a good one.